So welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Alicia Gallegos Butters, and I have the absolute pleasure today of introducing Dahlia, like the flower, such a beautiful name. Um, please say your last name for me.
It is Mahmoud.
Mahmoud. And
Yes.
she is presenting today her story, her journey, and how she was able to get where she is. So thank you.
Thank you guys for having me. It is absolutely such an honor to be here today with you guys. Let me allow you to share you my journey and how I started. My name is Dahlia Mahmoud, and from the age of 5, I knew I was destined to be a designer. I lived in sunny California, literally 5 minutes from Disneyland. And back then it was my playground. Of course, it didn't cost so much. But I was fascinated not by the rides, I was fascinated by Walt Disney's creation of the design and detail and how that he could create these environments that adults and children from around the world could appreciate and, in fact, put a smile on their face. So I would often say to myself, well, if Walt Disney can create this magic, then why can I? But you see, the stark, confident, accomplished Dahlia that you see today is a stark comparison to when I was in school. I was constantly teased and bullied by my last name. It was different. I was told, being an Arab American female, my dreams were not valid. But it was ultimately the strong women in my life who would change me to the woman that I am today. And my grandmother, who was one of my greatest inspirations, taught me before passing is that never to take life for granted. And that my great grandfather, who was Prince Bedr Khan, the last prince of the Kurdish Empire, told me, uh, told my grandmother that when Saddam Hussein came into power, he stripped away our land and title. And that although that happened and it was such a, you know, um, horrible thing to happen to our family, my grandmother told me they can take everything away from us, but they cannot take what's in your heart and what's in your blood. And that stuck to me. And those was her last words to me before her passing. And my mother, who is also one of my greatest influences, was a single mom. And she taught me a work ethic and to hustle like no other, but always with honor and respect and to depend on nobody but myself. And it's ultimately these role models and lessons that would shape me to the woman and entrepreneur I am today. And so at 17, I boldly started Dahlia Design and drove into the workforce, not as an entry level designer and answering to someone else, but as my own boss. But I was constantly dismissed and doubted because of my age, but it only fueled my ambition that I was determined to succeed. And I started design at a very early on age for high profile clients from around the world. And when I married my husband, Mo, I convinced him to get his construction license. And together we took Dahlia Design to the whole new level. But it is not until I became a mother, my life took a dramatic detour. In fact, I hit rock bottom. With my first son, unfortunately, we landed in the wrong hands at the doctor that was on call. And we came face to face to a near death experience. And complications during labor resulted in me learning how to walk. It took me 6 months after postpartum. And with my second son, I was advised to go on bed rest, but I continued to work harder than ever. And ultimately, my son came early and we spent a month in the NICU. But God has a way sometimes of changing your greatest, biggest nightmare into a blessing in disguise. And there was a nurse that was on call that noticed that I never left my son's bedside. I was glued to his monitors. And she advised me to go for a walk. And so I did. And I landed on the 5th floor of the cancer patients, and I noticed the examination rooms, the chemotherapy rooms, and all were beautifully decorated. They were themed. And I started to watch the children that, even though they were sick, they were able to escape into this magical space and put a smile on their face. And that hit me. And thankfully, my son pulled through. But something happened to me as a mother, as a woman, and as a designer. My creations took a whole new look, and it was almost powerful. And I received a call once I got out of the hospital from a member of the royal family. And this member of the royal family, princess, asked me to design her children's room. Coincidence not, I believe everything happens for a reason. And she gave me complete artistic freedom. And suddenly the rooms took a whole new shape, which I will share with you. But now Dahlia Design is in top 100 design firms. Consecutively, year after year, we are in the top 200 most influential designers. I have won awards nationally and internationally, most recently, the prestigious Adagio Award, where I competed with designers from around the world and won it for the US. I won it in the category for Timeless Designer in the 1,000 category square meters, and it was a great honor. So I'd like to share with you my work here on the screen. And as you can see, and this is year after year for the last 10 years, I've been in the top 20, top 30 most influential interior designers. And I've been on HTTV, I've been on Bravo, and we'll get into that. On the next slide here, Sheikh Metropolitan said that I was one of the Los Angeles most powerful women, and it was a great honor. And the next slide here is me winning the Adagio Award, which was probably one of the highlights of my career. Competing with designers, the best in the world, with Google's designer from Japan, and to win it for the US was a huge accomplishment, but it was 22 years in the making. I look at that award is what set me apart. They were great, talented designers, but what set me apart was that confidence. And that confidence has no competition. And it's not confidence with an ego. I call it confidence with a heart. It's believing in myself. And so when I won that award, it was just not an evening that I just won it. It was 22 years getting to that moment and walking on that stage and receiving that word of all that hard work, all those setbacks, all the people that doubted me, and winning that. So it was a big night and a huge accomplishment, and that was in Venice, Italy. And the next slide here is an estate that I actually won the award. This is, I call it my lucky charm, because this was the first estate that I had convinced my husband after getting his license to do this. And this was our first project. It was for a member of a young couple from the royal family, and they were coming here to study abroad here in the metropolitan area. But it needed to serve not only as, a family home. They were young, but it also had to fit their needs of their protocol. A lot of dignitary coming to visit them, a lot of other royals. So that was very challenging to, make it homey, but at the same time have its protocol. And this is the iconic foyer that made me win the award. And my signature has been with me since I started Dahlia Design at the age of 17, and it has been our formula for success, which is simple, elegant, and of course, that touch of glam, and just keeping it timeless. And so in here, we were the first ones and the last ones to be able to create the height of the ceiling. The ceiling is 35 feet. And here in the Metropolitan, there after this project, they would not allow it. So we were so lucky to be able to have that permit to be able to create this magnificent foyer. This is in the top 50 most viewed Pinterest foyers. And it is my lucky charm because I won the award. But as you can see here, it is formal, and but that was more, for the dignitaries that came and visit this young royal family. But in the private quarters, it was more cozier and private. And the next image here is a basement, a feature that we did for one celebrity. All the artworks, I started designing it based on the artwork. And this was a famous artist in Italy. His name is Alex Turco. And we just created this basement, but more like a lounge for this high profile celebrity. And what the beauty of this, everything here is custom Fendi furniture. In the next image here, the client had a yacht and he loved this chandelier that was in the yacht. It was a black made from Swarovski crystal, and we recreated that in this space here. And again, this is all custom furniture and thing, but timeless. This was quite a while ago, but you can still see that it's still today because that's my signature, just keeping it timeless. And the next image here, the walls are all mother of pearl. And that's what I love. I love using so many different elements and textures. And so the actual wall is actual mother of pearl wallpaper, and also all custom furniture. And here, this client, this was another royal who wanted to have her salon, her, do her nails in the comfort of her own home. So we created her own spa, but I based it on her love of pearls. And throughout the house, there is a, rem of pearls. This artwork is also another Alex Turco, because I love his work. And we created this custom, featured wall. It's like a mermaid immersed in water. Again, and the chandelier mimics kind of like almost like an octopus, and the octopus, a jellyfish. And that was just elements of the pearl, the ocean. I've done a lot of work with a lot of NBA players, but one of our NBA players that we've done 6 of his homes is Caron Butler. He's very dear to me, and this is one of his homes that we did. I've watched him throughout his whole career, when he was with the Wizards, to the Lakers, to the Mavericks, and now doing so much. You see him on CNN doing a lot of great things, and his story fascinates me. And what I love about my job is that sometimes clients take away things from me, but I take a lot from my clients. And he's been such a great inspiration that he turned his life around. At the age of 11, he was unfortunately in the wrong path, drugs, and was incarcerated over 15 times. And he was on the wrong path, and luckily he got himself back together. And this is what I love about him, is that seeing is believing. You are the narrative of your story. You can always change your chapters, and that's what he did. And now he's doing so much great. He's a championship and doing so much great to the community. And that's what I love about Caron Butler. So as you can see here, this is where I say that I really, as a human being, but as a designer, had a dramatic turn in myself, as a designer. And you can see in the work. So as you can see in the children's room, this was a nursery. You say, okay, nice. But when I got out of that hospital and I had a whole new outlook, and those Disney days, it was suddenly like something clicked. And when it clicked and I had that opportunity, and it came about from the princess, this is how the rooms became. And you notice here in the bed, we created this aviation bed that lights up, has all these special effects, created this, mural that, this child and his father traveled a lot. The father had a love for, aviation, passed that along to his son. So it had a lot of the mural was telling their stories and of their travels, the compass, the details. And this is also Pinterest's most viewed children's room top 50. And then in this here, I created this castle room for a girl who loved fairies. And this little girl, we created that her bed, and that she could go up the slide, and in the towers would be stored her dolls, and then go down the slide. And the murals on the wall were iridescent. So at night, you would get that little sparkle, that twinkle. And this room is one of my lucky ones, because this landed me on the front cover of Wall Street Journal, which was a great honor. And This is the front cover, the royal treatment for kids' rooms. And that was really a great recognition from Wall Street Journal and really pivotal point in my career. And then people always ask me, well, Dahlia, when you do these kind of children's rooms that are themed, how can it evolve? Well, yes, it can evolve, because this same client, as the child got older, we changed it up. We took the face of the bed and then, revamped it, made it into, a bigger size bed, obviously, because she has grown. But then we created some other elements. So now we have these trees that are anchoring the castle, and these trees at night would twinkle at night, and it just created a whole new facelift and new beauty to the room. This one here is a castle bed that was inspired by the mother's love for the opera. And it was the Paris Opera. So we actually replicated that Paris Opera castle. You can't really see it, it's unfortunately cut on this image. But again, she could store her dolls. She can go down the slide. And this was in Beverly Hills for a very high profile client. We also created, because the mom loved this Paris opera, we wanted to create the murals of the room as if you were in Versailles. So why not create her own Ferris wheel? So that's what we did. We created this Ferris wheel that she could, have in her room. And then we had another client. This was another member of the royal family, where her daughter loved underwater, mermaids. She loved under the sea. So we created that. This was actually a billiard room before in the basement. And we created this foyer going into her playroom as if it was under a submarine. And she could sit on that bench, she could pick up a book, and then go down the slide into her playroom. And you notice that the details, the shells now become her seating, the TV's coming out of her treasure box. On the other side, on the left side, you see her arts and crafts section, and everything's childproof and fun and whimsical for her. And I have this signature with my children's rooms. I love doing a 3D element. So let's say if there is a mural, I like things popping out of the walls, or I like sequences. I like things that the walls talk in some ways. And that's how it was in this space. So in my next slide, this was one of, I would say in my whole career, the most challenging project I have ever done. And this was a great honor. And it happened, how it came about. This is the King of Saudi Arabia's museum. It was, how it came about. I had done some voluntary work for international students at Marymount University. That's where I attended. And I just happened, out of just the goodness of my heart, wanted to help out the international students, and converted their basketball court into an Arabian oasis. And what I did is did that, and happened to be on the guests were members of the royal family, the king's son, and as well as from the embassy, and they were blown away. And they asked me to come and talk to them for a future project. And that's how it came about. But I was competing with other designers, and most of them were men. And I was lucky enough that they gave me this honor. But it was very challenging, because at that time the king was dying, and he was at the last 6 months of his life, and they really wanted to honor him in the US, because he had signed an agreement with George Bush to have this exchange of Saudi Arabia and US having their students come here, and they wanted to honor his legacy. So I wanted to create the museum where, it had old Saudi Arabia and to new Saudi Arabia. So this is a section of the old Saudi Arabia, and on the right-hand side is like a replica of the founder of Saudi Arabia, King Abdulaziz's sitting area. So I wanted to show that. This is iconic, the statue that we created of King Abdulaziz charging into Saudi Arabia when he declares, the country. And then some images, and on the back there are, a lot of technology that you can touch screen and learn about the different royals. But the highlight of the museum was, how could I transport the visitor from old Saudi Arabia to new Saudi Arabia? So I had this dream, and this dream came about of creating this misc. And I had told my husband, I told my team, and they thought I was insane, crazy, because that did not exist. It was something that in Disney they had, but it was in an outdoor space. So we'll talk about that in the next slide. But in the next one, I created this. This is King Abdullah of Saudi Arabia, the one that we were honoring his museum and his name. Is we created this artwork, very oversized, and it's all hand beaded with beads. So this is that dream. So here we are. I wanted to have this archway where you go from old Saudi Arabia to new Saudi Arabia, and why not have this misc? And then this misc would have the founder of Saudi Arabia's images. And this misc would have him charging, in the desert with his army. I wanted to have that iconic image, and it took, when I say, nobody believed in this. No, they thought I was crazy. It didn't exist. How can you control the humidity? How can you control it that it does not cause a slipping hazard? You're using misc water, the right temperature, the right pressure, everything. And it was me for a good 3 weeks, not taking no for an answer. And when my team and everybody was saying, it's not going to happen, it was me at 3, 4 a.m. trying to figure out, well, how can I make this work? I got to do it. And that's what I'm known for. That's Dahlia, is never taking no for an answer and being that go-to, that, she'll find ways. And this became the highlight. And you can see in this image here, you see them charging, that iconic scene. And that's with all the archways. And then here is, creating these things. This project, was, again, 6 months, but, I had to deal with around the world, from artisans from Egypt, artisans from Chicago, artisans from Florida, from around London. The chandelier itself, I custom designed it, but it was custom made in London. The technology, the everything, it was a very challenging task, but was so well received. And then as you enter the museum, before getting to the doors, in the Arab, Middle Eastern culture, tea is a big symbol of hospitality. And so I wanted to create that replica of having the fountain be the, they call it the della, which is the coffee pot, you would say, and having the waterfall, and that is the fountain as you enter into this building. And the exterior of the building, we created this also, another artifact creation that stands in front of the building. Then most known, this opportunity was actually for Bravo. It was the champagne room, famous room for one of my clients, Sharice Jordan, who I love, who was from the Potomac Housewives. And she told me she would love to create her office. She called it the officeless room, because it was a study that was never used. And she unfortunately was going through a divorce, and she wanted to do something for herself. And she wanted to have her champagne room. But she told me the catch was that I had 4 weeks to create it, and that 3 million people will be watching it on Bravo. And so when that opportunity came, it was like, okay, I want to create a special room for her, but I want all the furniture to be Dahlia Design. So everything, to create the seating, to create the furniture from scratch in 4 weeks is literally impossible. But we did the impossible because I knew how important this was for her, as well as how the exposure that we would will be receiving. And so she also loved pearls and the champagne. So you see the custom chandeliers, all pearls and Swarovski crystals, from the chairs that are all custom Dahlia Design, to the artwork in the back, to the mother of pearl in the thing, to Everything A to Z was custom for her. And that's it.
Wow, Dahlia, that was amazing. And I have to tell you, as well as all the participants here, my daughters have been, they're home, obviously schooling,
Yeah.
and they have been enthralled by this presentation. So thank you so
Oh,
much.
thank you.
It's spectacular and breathtaking. One question that came up was a student wanted to know, what education did you have to have at the age of 17, and were you going to school while working? If you could expand on that a little bit, please.
Absolutely. I started Dahlia Design at 17, but I pursued my bachelor's at Marymount University, which had a great interior design program. And yes, I was also working at the design center where I wanted to learn every aspect of the field, from the textiles, from everything, as well as going to school, and then weekends or evenings would do the Dahlia Design. So I really was, as you can say, that at that time, and to the other students, I missed out, yes, going to the mall, going to movies, but it was something that was such a passion. And like I said, I knew at 5 this was really what I want to do. And it was so zoned in. And I think that that was honestly, I mean, having the degree and having that, but it's also believing. And I really encourage your students is that we each one of us have our gift. I'm not here to say to your students, go be a designer. I'm here to tell you to follow your dreams. But only you know what your dream is and what your purpose or what your gift is. And some of us know it at an early age, some of us know it at a later age, and there's no shame in that. As long as you do what you love and do it with heart and with determination and hard work, you will see the fruits of your labor and your hard work. And I'm always believing in giving back, and that's why I'm here today. Is I believe that with success comes a responsibility of helping others and picking somebody up. And our youth, because I started so young, it's important to, our youth, and especially in these times, I don't want students to be discouraged. We are in unprecedented times, but I want them to make them feel resilient, that we have to keep going. We have to keep, I like to say, keep swimming, keep going, and keep following your dreams. And if I were to listen to all that I had been through all my career, the setbacks, the heartache, the pain, the tears, the sweat, and I had given up early on. And like I said, when I hit rock bottom, I could have easily. But it was like life has a way that you can be bitter or you can be better. Or when tough times happen, is be more creative and find new ways. And for them just to listen on this, they're in the right place, right time. And hopefully this inspires them to really follow their dreams.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Another question came in from a student, and this particular student was wondering, how is it that you stay organized? Because it appears that you are juggling a lot of jobs. And how do you keep track of all of those, as well as being a mom and obviously a professional?
That's a great question. It is it's, you never really find the perfect balance. I mean, we're learning every day, um, but what I can say is organization is key, and having a good team is essential, and knowing your strengths and your weaknesses. I know where I am strong in, but I rely on, for example, my assistant Nikki to help me in other things, or other employees to do other things. So it's, managing and delegating to others. That's what being a good leader is. It is hard being a mother, and that is my number one job and priority. But my kids know and understand that mom works hard for them. And, I want to build a legacy. I want them something that they will be proud of their mother, and quality time is very important, and having time. But I also make it very important to make sure mentally and physically I take care of myself. So I allow myself 1 hour of me time, and what that looks like could be a brisk walk, it could be a workout. It's really every day just having 1 hour to me where I can, reflect my day or do something that Dahlia wants to do. And usually it is working out just to, relieve that. And I think that's so important, is you can't be mentally prepared. I mean, you can't be physically prepared if you're mentally not prepared. And it's very important to mentally take care of yourself.
Thank you so much. And I think that those were the two main questions, but I know that all our students are going to benefit from this. Is there anything that you would like to end with for our students? You gave us so much beauty to look at and so many good words of wisdom. Anything else?
I just want to encourage your students to follow their dreams, and that never allow anything or anyone stand in their ways, and that it's important to believe in yourself. And ultimately there are going to be roadblocks. Ultimately there are going to be rejection. But I look at that as redirection. Never allow that to discourage you. Never allow that to hinder you or be a victim of your past. Learn from that, be stronger with that. That growth will help you to be better. All of that I've been through, it has only made me a stronger woman, a stronger entrepreneur. And these times, it is important that we keep going and keep following our dreams. But ultimately, no one is going to do it for you. You have to believe in yourself. And I think that there are the first step of them being here today and listening to this, and hopefully this inspires them to really go after their dreams. And not to be, one of the greatest advice that I got from my college professor, and when I was starting Dahlia Design, is that, well, how do I set myself apart when there are many designers out there? And he gave me the best advice, and this is the best advice I would give to your students. There's only one of us, and there's only one of you, and therefore we are special. Nobody can take that away from you. And once you really tap into what you really want to do and you follow through and believe in yourself, the sky is the limit. But always lead from the heart. Everything that you do, everything you speak on, every action, lead from the heart. And I wish them all the best and all the best of luck. And thank you so much for this opportunity. I am very grateful. And if your students need anything, they can reach out to me. You can find me, my website, whatever you need. But I encourage you to follow your dreams.
Well, thank you so much. And we appreciate you taking the time. We appreciate your words of wisdom. We appreciate you sharing so many beautiful images, and your successes were amazing to listen to. So thank you. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording right now. And